Say that you become trustworthy.
Responsibility to get good.
Yeah, but if you cannot say
And I can choose what kind of words I
and more than one trustworthy.
decide firmly for this man because
Hello friends! 全国高校英語ディベート連盟審査委員長の矢野です。この DVD には2009年12月に埼玉県で開催されました第4回全国高校生英語ディベート大会の2試合が収録されています。全国大会には29もの都道府県から64校もの精鋭が集い熱戦が繰り広げられました。中でも学ぶところの多い2試合として準々決勝の1試合と決勝戦との模様をこの DVD には収録しました。途中要所要所で私の方で解説や補足等を加えておりますが、解説抜きでご観覧いただくことも可能です。では早速、準々決勝肯定側兵庫県の灘高校、否定側長野県の伊那北高校の試合をご覧ください。
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Hyogo and I'm the constructive speaker of the apprentice side. Chairperson, ladies, gentlemen, and debaters. At first, let me introduce our plan. Worker dispatching should be prohibited after 3 years of adjustment period. The government will assist by both financial aid and political support. We, the affirmative side, firmly support this plan because of 2 advantages. Advantage 1, it will lead to the decrease of labor accidents. Present situation, dispatch workers are facing high risks of labor accidents. According to the survey by the Ministry of Labor in 2008, 5,600 severe injuries of dispatch workers were reported. This is significant because though only 4.7% of the entire workers are dispatch workers, 8.8% of the severe injuries were those of dispatch workers. Furthermore, white paper Hakusho, also from the Ministry of Labor, points that the number of such labor accidents increased to 9 times that of 2004 in 2007, while the total number of working accidents remained the same. According to Makino Tomio, economist and honorary professor of Nippon University, quote, one dispatch worker who was assigned desk work was suddenly transferred to a factory. Having no experience, she shot her arm in one of the machines and got injured. However, she didn't receive any compensation from the company after the incident, end quote. He also says that in many cases, such injured employees get fired to lessen trouble of the dispatching agencies. This clearly shows that dispatch workers' inexperience and user-friendly nature is creating a dangerous working environment. In fact, firstly, if the plan is adopted, all the workers will be directly hired, and therefore the number of labor accidents will dramatically decrease. This is because direct employment requires each company to have clear responsibility to its workers. Furthermore, according to Haken Roudou by Kadokura Takashi, quote, this direct employment has lower risk of working accidents, end quote. This plan will create a safer working environment. Secondly, according to Akahata newspaper of January 19, 2009, in Ecuador, where it has the system of the worker dispatching as Japan, where it has the same system of worker dispatching as Japan, the government prohibited all indirect employment in 2008, leading to a great success of 90% of all the companies changing the system to direct employment. This shows that such prohibition is in fact possible in our society. Working condition is considered a very important fact in the Japanese constitution. Moreover, people are dying or getting injured so that they'll never be able to work. This significance can never be outweighed. Advantage 2. Productivity of Japanese industry will improve. Present situation. According to the survey by the Ministry of Labor, 98.0% of the worker dispatching is shorter than 6 months. According to the survey by Nikkei Business, from 2000 to 2006, productivity showed 160% increase for the regular workers, while it showed 40% decrease for dispatch workers. Productivity is defined as the amount of product divided by working time. It is clear that most dispatch workers are hired in short periods and not being able to obtain higher skills. In fact, prohibiting worker dispatching will lead to more long-time-based employment, and therefore more workers will be able to obtain higher skills. This will improve the productivity of both workers and companies. Significance. according to Asahi newspaper, July 23rd, Toyota decided to hire 93% of its dispatch workers as direct employees to get skillful engineers. According to the Toyota website, Toyota's gross performance of August to November 2009 increased by 400 billion yen after this action. According to the Nikkei newspaper, December 6th of 2007, Mitsui Sumitomo Bank rehired 2,000 dispatch workers as regular employees to obtain more professional workers, which enabled the company to escape from the pitfall of bankruptcy in 2007 to 2008. Just to mention, Loft and Uniqlo are planning to follow these companies within a year. As you can see from this AD has clear significance. From these two advantages, we, the apprentice side, firmly support this plan. Thank you.
肯定側立論ではデータがふんだんに用いられた緻密な議論が組み立てられていました。肯定側は2つのアドバンテージが派遣労働の配置によって得られると主張しています。アドバンテージ1は労働災害の減少です。派遣労働の方が他の雇用形態に比べて事故の発生率が高い。派遣労働を禁止することで事故の発生率は減るんではないのか。アドバンテージ2は労働者の生産性が上がるという観点でした。これは非常に面白い観点で、正社員と比べると派遣労働は非常に短期間で他の職場等に移ってしまう。ですから同じ仕事の能率を上げる工夫等がされにくくなる。そういったことを統計などを用いて証明していました。非常に強力な証明となっています。立論でメリットがあるということを証明する場合には3つの論点が必要ですが、ここでは現状分析、現状で派遣労働の災害等がどうなっているか、そして2番目に効果、派遣労働を禁止することによってどう変わると予想されるのか、この場合にはいい方向に変わるということが予想されるということを、他の国の例なんかも加えながら説明していました。そして最後にどうして例えば労働者の災害を減らすことが重要なのかという重要性の論点も非常に説得力ある形で論じられていました。非常に模範的な立論だと言えます。
Very natural question from negative side for 3 minutes. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is student Mariana. Let me ask some questions for your constructive speech. First, as for your first advantage, did you say anything about what the workers will become? What kind of workers do you think they will be after the prohibition?
Well, they will become direct. Well, they will be hired as direct employees.
Okay. You have some data about accidents, yes?
Yes, yeah. I'll read it. According to a survey by the Ministry of Labor in 2008, 5,600 severe injuries to dispatch workers were reported.
Okay. How many were reported amongst direct employed workers?
Pardon?
Amongst the direct employed workers, how many accidents were reported?
Okay. According to the research conducted by Ministry of Labor, only 4.7% of the entire workers are dispatch workers. 8.8% of the severe injuries are those of dispatch workers.
How many of the dispatch workers work in the manufacturing or industrial sector?
In what year?
The year you have data from.
Well, why is it relevant?
Because the most accidents happen in the industrial sector, and so if there are more dispatch workers working in the industrial sector, I will leave that up to the tag, but yes.
Well, it doesn't matter where they. Well,
it doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm so sorry. It doesn't matter that where they work doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So when they do.
The fact that we know is that the labor accidents are increasing right now.
Thank you. I understand. I'm sorry, I will move on to the next question. So, why do you believe these accidents will decrease after the prohibition? Can you repeat?
As I said in the speech, the dispatch workers, former dispatch workers will be given education and experience. And as I said in the
So they are not given education now?
Well, they're not given much education that they need.
Okay, so part-time workers and contract workers get enough education? Yes. Okay, yeah, thank you. As for your second advantage, now we don't have much time. You're talking about a decrease in productivity, or we will have an increase in productivity, right?
Yep. And right now, productivity of the regular workers are increased in 6 years according to the research by Univ.
So why are the companies hiring dispatch workers if they don't have enough productivity? Why are the companies using the workers? How many companies are hiring dispatch workers? You have 2 examples of companies hiring regular workers. Do you have any data, not just examples? I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you very much.
Very largest active contract has been for 4 minutes. Attention please.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Yoshiro. With the next fact is that the Japanese government should not prohibit worker dispatching. Disadvantage 1. Companies will lose their flexibility, and as a consequence, they will face financial difficulty. Present situation. Due to the globalization of the world economy, the Japanese companies are easily influenced by outside economic activities. In this difficult situation, it is very important that companies can adjust themselves quickly to those unpredictable changes. This flexibility is made possible by the worker dispatching system. According to a survey done by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare in 2008, 93% of the large companies are using dispatched workers. In the same survey, 70% of the companies say that they are using dispatched workers because they can find workers as soon as possible when they need them. Clearly, companies use the system because of its flexibility. It allows the Japanese company to cope with the change promptly and properly. Fact. Without this system, the companies would have difficulty finding workers when they need them, which will take much more time and money. The companies will lose business chances, which will make companies much less flexible in the world economy. Thus, companies will suffer from financial difficulty. In the worst case, some companies will move their factories abroad, which will affect people's lives in various ways. Importance. Success of Japanese companies is essential to all of us. Without it, people will lose job opportunities. Without a job, they would have less money to buy goods and services. The companies providing these things would also be affected. This is very dangerous future prospect, not only for the Japanese economy, but also for the Japanese society. Disadvantage 2. Workers will lose one of the options to make their lives better. Present situation. The worker dispatching system has been functioning quite well. The system has provided a lot of workers with a very good option to find a job. According to a survey done by the Japan Staffing Service Association in 2009, half of the respondents say that they choose to be dispatched workers because they can decide how long and when they work by themselves. And more than half of the dispatched workers say that worker dispatching enables them to lead a well-balanced life between their jobs and their life. Dispatched workers choose their own lifestyle. In addition, 37%, according to a survey published by Ministry of Labor in 2008, say that they become dispatched workers because there were no places for them to work as regular workers. This number shows that the worker dispatching system provides those people with valuable job opportunities and given them time to prepare for becoming regular workers. In fact, one form of worker dispatching, employment placement dispatching, gives chances to those who want to be employed as regular workers in the future. Worker dispatching is not preventing those who want to be regular workers from doing so. Effect. If the affirmative side plan is adopted, they will lose this option. Suppose the job hunting with a dispatching agency. They have to spend much more time and energy to find a job, and they may even not be able to find a suitable job. Namely, they will lose their opportunities to make their lives better. Importance. In Japan, various kinds of work styles must be accepted. This affirmative side plan only knows the option to get a job. By prohibiting this system, we would be discriminating against the people who have chosen this as their work style. The industrial structure of Japan has been changing steadily. According to this change, people's work style also must change. Job opportunities should be flexible enough for people to lead a satisfactory life. So the plan will surely make our society inflexible. So we strongly oppose the proposition that the Japanese government should prohibit worker dispatching. So now I will repeat our two disadvantages. One, companies will lose their flexibility, and disadvantage two, workers will lose. Oh, okay.
Thank you. We will then have 1 minute preparation time.
否定側立論では派遣労働の禁止による2つのディサドバンテージが論じられました。否定側のチームもディサドバンテージを証明する基本に忠実に3つの小論点をちゃんと証明しているいい立論でした。否定側のディサドバンテージの1つ目は企業側のディサドバンテージで、派遣労働という非常にフレキシブルな人を採用する形態が取れなくなるということで、急速な変化に追いつけなくなるというダメージを論じていました。ディサドバンテージ2はライフスタイルの選択肢が減るという労働者の観点からの弊害が論じられていました。派遣労働を自らの選択肢として好んで選んでいる、そういった労働者も実際にはいるということを統計で証明して、派遣労働がなくなると別のより労働者にとって好ましくない採用形態に移らざるを得なくなる。これは本当に望んでいる人にとっては望ましくないことであろうという観点を出してきておりました。肯定側も否定側も企業側にとってのアドバンテージ、ディサドバンテージ、労働者にとってのアドバンテージ、ディサドバンテージを一つずつ出すという試合になっております。いわばがっぷり四つ、大変いい試合が期待できそうです。
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kenta Koga, and I'd like to ask some questions about the negative constructive speech. First, in your DA1, you mentioned that this word outside economic activities. Can you please give me an example of this outside economic activities? I mean, what specifically is this outside economic activities?
Now, the whole Japan, we have globalization.
Yes, but that's kind of vague, right? Like, what is specifically
Economic activities.
Yeah, outside economic activities.
Outside economic. Export and demand.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. You mentioned 93% of the companies are using dispatch workers. But
We said that 93% of the large companies.
Large companies. How do you define large companies?
More than 1,000 workers.
How many large companies are there in Japan?
So we don't have it.
You don't have it. Okay. How about small and medium-sized companies? How many of them are using dispatch workers?
Sorry, can I say again?
Okay. How many of the middle and small-sized companies are using dispatch workers?
We don't know about that.
Okay, you don't know about that.
But we said that 93%
Thank you.
of large
I'll move on to the next question. You mentioned this flexibility in your DA1.
Yes.
Can you please define the word flexibility?
Okay. Companies can find necessary workers without delay through dispatching agency, and they need flexible for keeping up with the speed of change in the business.
Okay, where does that come from? Where does that come from?
We definition it.
You define that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. For DA2, you mentioned 37%, something about 37%. What was it?
In our disadvantage one,
Yeah.
70% of the companies said they are using dispatch workers because they can find workers as soon as possible when they need them.
All right,
Okay?
can you please give me some other answers from the rest of 63%?
No, 70%. 70% of
Then what
companies
was
say.
Okay, what was this 37% about?
37%.
Yeah, like...
There's another reason. Because, sorry, you are talking about disadvantage 2 or
yeah,
disadvantage
DA2.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, so we said that 37% say that become dispatched workers because there are no places for them to work as regular workers.
Okay, what are the other responses from the rest of the 63%? Can you give me like maybe two major reasons?
Okay, as we said, disadvantage two, half of the respondents say that they choose to be dispatched workers because they can decide how long and when they work by themselves.
All right, thank you. Yep, thank you very much.
Question time has ended. We will now have 2-minute preparation time.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Minami Ueki. Now I want to begin my next speech. First, as for the advantage one, they say that workers' industrial accident will dramatically decrease, but it is completely wrong. First of all, it is not true that especially only dispatch workers have higher risk of being involved in industrial accidents. All workers' industrial accidents are 130,000. And please consider the rapid increase of dispatch workers. The rate of dispatch workers to total workers has always larger than that of accidents. According to the survey done by the Ministry of Labor in 2008, the rate of the dispatch workers to all workers was 7.8%, while the rate of accidents by dispatch workers was 4.4%. This shows that actually dispatch workers' risk of being involved in accident is really low. And secondly, moreover, therefore, even if we prohibit the worker dispatching, there is no solvency for decreasing the number of industrial accidents, because even many direct employees are being involved in accidents, and rather the dispatch workers' risk is lower than other workers. And third, they said about job training, but job training is unrelated with being involved in accidents, because accidents often cause without our expectation whether we have job training or not. So their advantage one cannot stand. And second, about their advantage two, they say companies' productivity will increase because now regular workers' productivity is increasing. But to realize the advantage too, all workers have to be regular workers, but it is impossible. According to the Japan Production Skill Labor Association in 2009, if worker dispatching were to be prohibited, 43% of companies say that they will hire dispatch workers as contract workers, and 39% of them say that they will hire part-timers instead of dispatch workers, while only 10% of that they will hire regular workers. So their advantage too cannot stand. And they show that some example of companies, but it is only minority. Please consider the fact that 97% of all large companies are using dispatch workers in present. This shows that dispatch workers is very available. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have questions from the affirmative side for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Junaki, the next speaker. Our question is that you use data that is 7.8%, 4.4%. Where did you get the data?
Ministry of Labor.
Okay, when?
It's published in 2009.
Okay. Where is the source for the 97% of the major big companies? Where is the source?
Ministry of Labor in 2009. I'm sorry, 93%.
Oh, sorry. You said that accidents happens beyond our expectation. Well, how can you say so? Could you give me an example for that?
Because we can know that because even the regular workers and direct employees are being involved in industrial accidents, which gives enough job training. So job training is unrelated with being involved in industrial accidents.
Why can't you say so? What
Because the
can you
data
say?
shows.
Where did you get the data?
Ministry of Labor
Where?
in 2019 data.
Could you give me the specify what example what happened beyond our expectation?
The accidents, I'm sorry.
How can the accidents happen beyond our expectation?
For example, something dropped.
What?
Sorry, I didn't.
My name is Ken Remember. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to smoothen the creases in the negative side speech. Disadvantage one, companies will lose flexibility. Now, number one, flexibility made possible with dispatch workers. No system like this exists in America. The triangle system is something that only exists in Japan. America is growing internationally and globally. This is a contradiction. One is wrong. Now, attack two, they said that companies will find difficulty getting workers. Now, this is no source. Now, 47% of companies who fire dispatch workers find it because there is difficulty because dispatch workers don't work as well as regular workers. Isn't it more difficult for a company to hire poor dispatch workers than very good quality regular workers? Exactly. Now, deck 3, they said that, now, their advantage 1 has no significance. They had no specific example of how much damage there will be from prohibition. No example of how much damage and how much problems in economy will happen. And also, this is like slavery in America. In the 19th century, people were slaves. America was good, but like human rights were not protected. Now, even if you accept this, people are used as objects here in dispatch workers. Advantage 1, our advantage 1 shows that flexibility is more important, is not as important as human rights, and Japanese constitution agrees to. Now, disadvantage 2, flexibility of work. Let me get this straight. Dispatch worker 1. Now, if we prohibit this, people who want to work can become regular workers with financial support. People who want free-time workers, contract workers, part-time workers, and they can choose what kind of work they want to do. Dispatch workers cannot choose what work they want to do. Second attack, they said that the system is working out. This is ridiculous. They said that there's no place for dispatch workers. This is why we are prohibiting it. When we prohibit this, the government will have financial support and dispatch workers can become regular workers and they won't suffer as they do right now. Number 3, they said that you cannot choose what job you want. I said, you cannot choose what job you want to be dispatch workers. You can when you prohibit dispatch workers. Thank you.
My name is Nagano. Let me ask some questions. First, as for disadvantage 1, you have 3 attacks.
4.
4 attacks.
I'll repeat them quickly for you.
As for our disadvantage 1, how many attacks?
I'll repeat them for you. 1 was 1.
Number, please.
4.
4.
4, everyone. 4. Not 3, 4.
As for disadvantage 2,
Disadvantage, let me say 2.5 because the last one sort of refers to number 1. See, I personally don't count how many
okay,
attacks
thank
I have.
you. As about regular workers, you said dispatch workers can be regular workers. What can you say?
Well, 1, we gave an example of where
okay, so it is the present situation. So,
yes.
but so if we prohibit.
See, our plan was we will support government will support people financially. Okay. Companies will support financially. Therefore, there's no problems.
It's about part-timers and regular workers. So there is many options.
Yes. Isn't that your disadvantage?
Okay, but how about who want to work as dispatch workers? How about them? What happened?
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Everyone, when a worker wants to work, they want to work a specific job.
Sorry. Okay. Please.
Oh, sorry. We believe that every person who wants to work as a dispatch worker right now will be satisfied after the plan is approved.
Now all dispatch workers want to be employed directly.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You said about America, United States. So you mean there is no dispatching system in America?
I'm saying that there is no system called Haken Roudou in America where there's a triangle system of indirect work.
Okay, so if we prohibit, companies cannot, will not lose.
No, this was an attack on disadvantage 1. You said that if we prohibit dispatch workers, they won't be able to cope with a society, but America is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question 10 has ended. Where we now have student information time.
2つのアタックスピーチとそれに対する質疑をご覧いただきました。最初に否定側は肯定側のアドバンテージに対してかなり効果的に反論をしていました。とりわけ 肯定側の自己というアドバンテージに対しては、実際には自己はそれほど多くないという反対のデータを出したりとかですね、アドバンテージ2に対しては正社員に慣れたらそれは論率は上がっていくかもしれないけれど、実際にはパートタイマーとか短期間雇用は続くのではないか、そういったことを統計で出すことによって結果としてアドバンテージが得られないであろうという効果的な反論になっていました。肯定側のアタックスピーチは大変雄弁で聞き手を意識したスピーチができていました。その点は大いに見習うべきですが、ただ一つだけ感心できないことがあります。例えば派遣労働がスレイバリー、奴隷制だと誇張してみたり、他にも相手の議論が ridiculous、 馬鹿げているという、これはフィンガーポインティングといって相手を不当に貶めるような表現を使うこと、こういった点などは改めるべきでしょう。例えば否定側は労働者が自分の選択肢を増やすために派遣労働を選んでいるケースがある、こういったことを主張していましたが、これは決して専門家の目で見ても馬鹿げてはおりません。もちろんどれだけの人が本気でそう考えているのか、統計は正しいのか、そういった点は確かめる必要があります。ディベートではそういった統計の不備などを攻撃するべきであって、誇張やレトリックは最小限に抑えるべきです。ディベートでは事実を踏まえて誇張のない議論が行われるべきです。例えば肯定側はアメリカでは派遣労働がないということを言っておりましたが、否定側が正しく訂正しているように、実際にはさまざまな形でアメリカでも派遣労働が行われています。はったりや誇張は真剣な議論にとってはあまり役に立ちません。古いディベートでは誇張やレトリックによって相手を圧倒するという手法を使う人がいましたが、現代社会では科学的で対話を重んじた議論がされるべきです。ぜひ事実を踏まえて極力誇張を抑えた議論に集中してください。
First, they attack that they use the data of 7.8%, 4%, but we have data that shows probably 7% and 8.8% from mutual labor in 2009. So they attacked us at all. Then she said that job training is not unique to the labor accident, but the example of dropping. But dropping, does this really everything? No. Then we have the data 4.7 and 8.8. Why does this happen? If it's not unique, does this happen? No. So that doesn't stand. And we say now that ID2 that most of 98% of the worker dispatching is less than 6 months. So they are unexperienced. So their lack of experience and their skills make this difference. And they are more likely to get involved in accidents. So their attack fails and our advantage still stands. Number 2, about the 2, they say that Toyota's a minority, but that's why we support this brand, no? The company mentioned too in our speech, we hired direct workers restructure and direct workers to regular workers, dispatch workers to regular workers in order to improve their productivity. However, many companies are not doing this now. So we support this brand because the benefit that Toyota got will be shared to all the companies in Japan. So by introducing this brand, that we believe to be very good. And also, thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Nagano. I want to begin our defense speech. First, their attack points are so complicated. We have 4 attack points. First, as for our disadvantage one, they said about United States and they said there is no dispatching system, but in fact, there is a system in the United States, so there is not stand. And second, they said companies will not lose flexibility, but it is completely wrong. According to the survey done by Japan Production Skill Labor Association in 2009, about 90% of the client companies are against prohibiting worker dispatching for manufacturing companies. The number shows that most companies are relied on worker dispatching, and if we prohibit it, companies will surely lose their flexibility. And third, sadly, as they said about dispatch workers are treated like slaves, but it is not true. They, as we said in our constructive speech, 50% of dispatch workers want to be dispatch workers, and we have more data, and we will show you. According to the survey done by Japan Production Skill Labor Association in 2009, about 70% of the dispatch workers are against prohibiting the worker dispatching for manufacturing companies. This data shows that most dispatch workers want to continue their working style. And finally, they said dispatch workers are not benefit for companies, but it is not true. Companies, according to the survey done by Ministry of Labor in 2007, 44 of companies said that they use dispatch workers to find capable and skillful workers. Actually, dispatch workers are skillful, and so dispatch workers have enough skill, and this is really benefit for companies because they can find efficient workers without delay. Thank you.
Preparation time has ended. We will now hear a brief summary speech for 2 minutes.
Okay, my name is Kenta Koga, and I'm the summary speaker of affirmative side. Okay, DA1 versus 81. First, I want to talk about micro view versus macro view here. They mentioned that 93% of large companies in Japan is using dispatch workers, and by prohibiting the plan, companies will lose flexibility, which will lead to less flexibility, ending in economical disorder. However, they didn't know the number of large companies and what is happening in middle and small companies, which completely denies the significance. We mentioned that the rate of working accidents of dispatch workers is increasing no matter whether they're engaged in industrial work. Each dispatch worker is in twice as high risk of labor accidents. They said that this plan will bring social disorder. However, society doesn't even exist without sound citizens, sound workers. Individual life risk is much more important than vague micro creases. Our 81 completely overrates their DA1. DA2 versus 82. Okay, they said companies will lose opportunities to seek for specifically needed labor force, therefore it will be bad for the company. This is self-contradicting. Companies need to seek for their workers carefully with responsibility to get good workers. This is clearly backed up by the examples of Toyota and Mitsui Sumitomo, which were rescued from their red by regular workers. Our 82 easily overrates their DA2 in terms of significance. It is not called flexibility when dispatch workers are not knowing what jobs they'll get next. When will the job come? This is called social disorder. We should prohibit this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Tida Maria Megasi. In answer to the aggressiveness of the affirmative side, I will go on the offensive. Today's debate can easily be divided into two main topics, the workers and the companies, and of course in the end, society. Let's start out with the workers. The affirmative side claims that workers are much more often involved in industrial accidents than other work forms. Since our data is clashing here, we should instead use our logic. Accidents are accidental. If they were expected, we could prevent them. Accidents are a big problem of the industrial industry. It occurs in all types of work. We must work to prevent these accidents, but prohibition of the dispatching system is not the way forward. So now that we have that out of the way, let's look at the benefits for workers. There are 3 million dispatch workers. They have decided to be dispatch workers of their own free will. So, honorable judges, do not be fooled by strange links to slavery of past centuries. This is nonsense. Japan is a free country, and these workers are enjoying their jobs. Actually, 70% of the workers are against the prohibition of the dispatching system. So should we rip this option away from them? We say no. As for the companies, the affirmative side claimed, quite vaguely, that companies will gain productivity. They supported this by 2 examples of companies. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 2 companies out of thousands and thousands of companies in Japan. not exactly clear evidence. Please instead consider our evidence. 93% of the large companies are using this system. By large companies, I'm talking about companies hiring more than 1,000 workers, which means they have most influence on Japanese economy. And of these, 70% said they use dispatch workers because of the flexibility. Flexibility is essential for companies to meet the demand of foreign countries' markets. So in the end, we should protect workers. In order to protect workers and protect companies, and in the end, the Japanese society, we strongly believe that we should not prohibit the worker dispatching system. Thank you very much.
ソーカスのスピーチでは、両チームとも試合中に出た論点の比較が雄弁になされていました。特に否定側は工夫をしており、労働者の観点、企業側の観点と比較の軸を2つに分けて、例えば労働者の観点ではアドバンテージ1よりもディスアドバンテージ2の労働者の選択肢が減ることの弊害が大きいということを論じたり、アドバンテージ2よりもディスアドバンテージ1のフレキシビリティが企業にとって減るということの弊害を論じるという形で比較がなされていました。これは議論の順番を機械的に踏襲しているわけではないですが、議論を噛み合わせるということで比較が分かりやすくなっています。そうした工夫の結果、こちらの論点よりもこちらの論点が上回るという比較の軸としては効果的に訴えられていました。ただし、両チームともアドバイスがあるとしたら、もう少し細部についてもこだわってもよかったんではないでしょうか。大きな比較ばかり、大きな比較、マクロの比較と言いますが、マクロの比較を支えるためには、そのマクロな論点を構成するミクロな証明もやはり重要です。例えば肯定側であれば、事故がどれだけ大きいのか、否定側から疑問が出てたわけですよね。となると総括でもこのぐらいの事故のデータがあります。最終的にはこういった論点は重要ですということを統計ももう一遍踏まえながら論じないと説得力は出せません。否定側の方も実際には例えばどれだけの人が、事故に遭っているのかというふうな相手側への攻撃なんかももう一度繰り返してもよかったんではないでしょうか。そうすることで事故に比べると選択肢を与えることの方がより重要だということがより説得力のある形で総合的に比較できることになります。やはりマクロな比較だけではなくミクロも重要だということを忘れないでください。
First of all, I would like to congratulate both debaters who successfully survived the preliminary rounds, maybe working the 3 rounds yesterday and 1 round today's morning, and remaining as qualified as a quarter-finalist. So we would like to congratulate. First, well, I believe that this debate round is really joyful and enjoyable. I believe that most of the audience is actually having some kind of feedback. I think we have done quite good debate in this round. So, in this point, we would like also give a big hand again to you. Then let me mention firstly about how we have decided the decisions, but just numbers, not the result itself. We voted, 1 person voted for some side and 2 persons voted for the other side. So let me explain first how we have actually understood and voted for the teams in this round. One judge thought that about the first advantage, talking about accident of the students, the workers, there is an argument saying about there is about less than 6,000 injuries reported, and it is now number dramatically increasing like 9 times. Then they claim that it can be remedied by taking the measure of prohibiting the worker dispatching. But he took the point that the situation is somehow not unique. The accident would happen also in the case of the ordinary regular workers. And in that point, the judge thought that the number comparison is also vague about which is really good or not. So that mixture make this advantage one quite bit diminished, making 0. Then rather, the second judge thought about other way around about the this advantage one. Well, he thought that there can be the plural reasons about the accident, saying that there may be accident, which we cannot avoid, while there can be the case that training can support it. Then he thought, well, actually there is a card presented from the negative side saying that, for example, 30% of the companies said that they will hire the dispatch workers as a contract fixed-term workers or like that, but just even if it is 10%, they will be hired as regular workers. This person can be saved using a kind of system of training or like that. Therefore, he thought the advantage may remain in this respect. That judge, the second judge, thought that, well, about talking about the disadvantages, it is also interesting point of disadvantage, thinking about the flexibility of the companies. Then there is an argument, well, it's about the United States or like that. Some judge, the second judge thought that actually the difficulty of the disadvantage is about impact of the cell. What really happens when this one, even if the story remains, we are not really sure how to evaluate. Therefore, it is much more recommended to talking about or add some the evidence which support, for example, financial difficulties which causes the human hazard or like that is preferable. The disadvantage too, the options lost for workers, actually it may be true, but one just say that this is again somehow weak, may be true, but it is just a right, not a life story. So there is a difference about evaluation of how important of it. Then the last judge, me myself, is about the advantage one is somehow actually mixture. I'm not really sure which number is true, so I would suggest for both sides, you may have numbers, also saying about both numbers coming from Ministry of Labor or like that, so I'm not really sure which is true, that dispatch worker is safer or say a regular worker is safer. So I would suggest much more clarification should be presented here. In my sense, in this case, I apply the card, say disadvantage 2, saying that as a final speaker concluded that it is somehow voluntary harm. They decide because they want that kind of system, even if they know there is some accident, maybe even if. So that diminishes the advantage of one actually in a big amount for my case because the also solution is not clear. Then the productivity case for me is that also there is an argument they may not be hired in total because just 10% is hired as it is. And I'm not really sure whether they will choose to say hire the dispatched worker after plant action because even if they would hire, they can do it now. This is my question about the advantage too. So that also diminishes for me the impact of the advantage too. In somehow the benefit of worker remains. So these are the comparison how much of the actually advantage remains. Well, these values are comparable or somehow disadvantage outweighs. Then finally, the total decision actually goes to the negative side.
ジャッジの判定は2対1と割れていましたが、試合の結果としては否定側の伊那北高校の勝ちとなりました。特にディスアドバンテージ2、労働者の就職の選択肢が減るということの方がアドバンテージ1、労働災害の減少という論点よりも説得力があるというのが大方のジャッジの判断でした。ディスアドバンテージの1つ目やアドバンテージの2つ目の方はあまり説得力がないというのがジャッジの判定でした。立論の段階では肯定側は大変良い証明をしたように聞こえたのですが、否定側がそれと真っ向から対立するデータを出すなどして その証明のほとんどが疑わしいものとなってしまいました。それに対して肯定側は後のスピーチでは細部で挽回することができませんでした。結果として否定側の有利な比較という形で試合が進んでしまったというのが判定の結論です。いずれにせよ全体としてはデータを駆使した大変スリリングな聞き応えのある試合でした。Good job, both teams.
For easy mistakes, the working expecting is prohibited because the narrative don't take all the holds back women. Of course,
a company wants to
encourage women and elderly as that's your factory.
第4回全国大会の決勝戦は肯定側長野県の伊那北高校、否定側東京都の創価高校との対戦になりました。長野県は非常に英語ディベートに熱心な県で、なんと17年も前から高校生の県大会を開いておりますが、今回が初めての決勝戦進出となります。対する創価高校は日本語の全国大会であるディベート甲子園では強豪中の強豪ですが、なんとこの度は英語大会でも決勝戦の進出となります。では早速両チームの熱戦をご覧ください。
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Yoshiro. With the committee side proposed that the Japanese government prohibit worker dispatching of law within 3 years, all forms of worker dispatching will be prohibited. Today's problem concerning dispatch workers has been caused by indirect employment. Because of this, it is not clear who is responsible for dispatch workers. Advantage 1. Under our plan, dispatch workers will not be dismissed so easily. Therefore, they will not be treated like commodities. Present situation. The reason why plant companies use dispatch workers is just because dispatch workers are convenient. They use dispatch workers because they want a quick and easy solution to hiring workers. However, when dispatch workers are not needed any longer, they are the first to be dismissed. According to the Ministry of Labor in June 2009, about 60% of all non-legal workers who had been dismissed were dispatch workers. The number shows that dispatch workers are first victims to be fired in a time of bad business. Clearly, dispatch workers are being used just like commodities. Effect. If worker dispatching is prohibited, the system of indirect employment will disappear. All workers will then be employed directly. This means that companies will no longer be able to dismiss workers so easily. Workers will then have a better and closer relationship with companies as well as guaranteed protection under law. Workers will not be thrown away as if they were just commodities. If workers are certain how long they can work for and can work for as long as the company agrees, they will have better job stability. This would give them more predictable and stable life. Importance. The Declaration of Philadelphia by either states that workers should not be treated like commodities. The worker dispatching system contradicts the declaration. Without this system, a society will be much better off with fair opportunities. People will be able to work without fear of unfair dismissal. Advantage 2. All workers will be able to work more safely. Present situation. Due to unclear employee-employee relationship, both plant companies and dispatching agencies tend to neglect dispatch workers' safety. Neither of them give enough job training or information on safety operation to dispatch workers. Most dispatch workers are also forced to change workplaces one after another before ever getting used to them. Because of this reason, the number of industrial accidents by dispatch workers have been increasing rapidly. According to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare published in 2009, the number of dispatch workers in 2008 was 1.8 times as large as that of 2004, but the number of dispatch workers in industrial accident was 8.4 times as large as that of the same year. The risk of industrial accident of dispatch workers increasing markedly. What is worse, both plant companies and the dispatching agency often fail to report dispatch workers' accident to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. According to Yomiuri newspaper in June 2009, plant companies reported only 8% of the actual number of accidents. Clearly, dispatch work safety rights are being violated, and they are not taken care of even if they get injured in an accident. A fact, if worker dispatching is prohibited, responsibility for workers will become clearer. Companies will be required to make better efforts to prevent industrial accidents for all workers. And when accidents do happen, all workers will be taken care of equally. Therefore, every worker's right to work safely will be protected. Importance. To be able to work in safer working conditions is good for both workers and companies. Workers can lead more stable life with less risk of being involved in accidents. And if they can work with type of security, they can contribute to companies. Companies can benefit from workers' devotion, which is key to success of Japanese future. Because of these two advantages, we propose that the Japanese government should prohibit worker dispatching. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
肯定側立論では、派遣労働の禁止に2つのアドバンテージがあるということが論じられました。アドバンテージ1は、不当な解雇が減少するというものでした。不況時にはいわゆる派遣切りが行われて、労働者をコモディティ、いわば商品とする不当な扱いだという主張でした。アドバンテージ2は、労働災害が減少するという論点でした。派遣労働は間接雇用、つまり雇っている人と使っている人が違うという労働形態であるため、派遣労働者は十分なトレーニングを受けられない、そして事故に遭いやすいというのが直接雇用に移るため改善されるだろうという論点でした。これは特に統計などがよく用いられており説得力がありました。多少改善すべき点があるとすれば、少々早口だったということを改める点でしょうか。全般的に中身が濃いものを速いスピードで読むと中身が聞き手に伝わりにくくなります。冒頭ではスピードを落とすなどの工夫をしてください。
Preparation time has ended. We will now have questions from native side for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Professor. My name is Nagano. Okay, to advantage one, you said that dispatch workers are easily dismissed, right? Yes. This is because worker dispatching system. Yes, because of this system. Okay, so dispatch workers are treated like commodity, and because companies are using them badly. So companies are treating dispatch workers badly. Yeah, treated badly because the working dispatching system enable companies dismiss dispatch work easily. Because, as you said, because companies are feeling comfortable in using dispatch workers because it's convenient, as you said, right? Yes. Okay. So after that, dispatch workers will be hired directly. Yes. Where did you prove it? Which point did you prove it? Because the system of indirect employment will disappear. That means all dispatch workers will be hired directly. So that's the story. After dispatch workers will be hired directly. So how can you say that company will actually hire dispatch workers directly? Because company needs workers all the time, and yeah. Okay. So in your first presentation, you said that companies are dispatch workers are convenient for a company. So how can you say that only after plan they will be hired directly? And how can you say that they will take responsibility or not change their stance for workers? I mean, why? How can you say that company will try to save workers from company's point of view? Because the tribal system, dispatching system will disappear. So it will clear that who is responsible for dispatch workers. Okay, so, okay, thank you. To your advantage too, you said that, what is the problem? Why dispatch workers are only easier to get into labor accident? Could you tell me the reason? Because of this system, it is not clear the employee-employer relationship and
Unclear relationship is all the problem.
no. Also, we said in our construction speech, the companies not give enough training or information on safety operation
Okay,
to dispatch the worker.
does this problem can be only solved by entire prohibition of worker dispatching?
Sorry.
Does this problem can be solved? Thank you.
Question time has ended. We will now hear native contracted speech for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Gary Yamada. Disadvantage 1. Block social advancement. Presentation. Women and elders are difficult to get employed. However, work dispatching is merely offering workplaces to them. According to Mr. Oyama from Tokyo Capital University in 2001, quote, work dispatching plays a great role in matching worker and company rapidly and accurately by offering opportunity work which are scarce for women and elders, unquote. In fact, it is actually functioning in offering jobs first for women. According to a website of Fujisa, of the whole company, about 42% of them are hiring dispatch workers who are in child caring, and 17% are hiring part-timers in child caring. Second, for elders. According to the Bureau of Statistics, about 20% of elders over the age of 65 are working now. Therefore, work dispatching system is working on efficient matching of diversified needs of workers and requirements of company. Process. After Japan, women and elders can hardly find new jobs. According to the Asahi newspaper in 2007, quote, if work dispatching gets prohibited, companies will fail to offer work at the workplace compared to the dispatching system that matches worker and workplace from many choices. It is certain that dispatch workers will not get employed easily, unquote. Significance. During the 10 years until 2002, female dispatch workers had increased more than 3 times. Therefore, the social advancement of women and elders is important not only for themselves but also for economic perspective. Because according to Yomi newspaper in 2008, in order to maintain economic growth rate, it is necessary to enhance labor productivity by promoting the involvement of women and elders, unquote. Therefore, to block social advancement of women and elders is run as a government policy because they are necessary to Japanese economic perspectives. Disadvantage 2. Overseas transfer. Process 1. After Japan, companies will not be able to secure workers flexibly through work dispatching system, so they will transfer factories overseas in search of lower personnel costs. In fact, IT Management Association November 2009 stated that, quote, if work dispatching gets prohibited, securing workers will be more difficult without smooth and flexible matching system. To cope with this situation, it is certain that overseas transfer will progress faster and faster, unquote. Actually, many companies had announced that they would transfer overseas. According to Sankei News of September 2009, quote, the survey found that if work dispatching from manufacturing gets prohibited, 10% out of the whole companies will transfer factories overseas. By working a large-scale factory that has more than 1,000 workers, 19% are planning to transfer overseas, unquote. Therefore, after Japan, 10% of factories will go overseas. Process 2. When a factory transfers overseas, regular workers who work there will also be unemployed. Moreover, small companies such as transportation, pet maker, or retail business that relate to transfer factory will get financially damaged too. Significance. The policy supposed to protect workers will actually get workers into the danger of unemployment and that hurt the companies financially. Therefore, since labor system of work dispatching involve mutual benefit for worker and company, we must cope with the present problem by improving the present So we should not adopt this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Preparation time has ended. We will now have questions from affirmative side for 3 minutes.
Hi. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is student Maria Mekisi. Let me ask some questions for your constructive speech. Yes. First, for your advantage one. Disadvantage one, of course. You say it will be difficult to get employed without the system. Uber and airlines can hardly find new job. Okay. How many percent of the dispatch workers are women? How many? It means. How many percent of the women in the dispatching system is housewives? We did not state definite number, but the point we would like to emphasize is that first the work dispatching system provides workplace for them. I'm sorry, but if you don't give me a number, I can't know the significance. How many people will lose this option? Lose? Yeah. How many people will be affected? How many people the housewives? I'm sorry, we'll move on. You also talk about elders. Can you tell me the ratio of elders among dispatch workers? I'm sorry. First, how do you define elderly? How old are you to be elder? How old? Elder. Yeah. What kind of a group are we talking about? 60 for age of elder. 65. Okay, thank you. Over 65. Yeah. Okay. As for your second point, yes. You say that did you say that 10% of all companies would move overseas? Yes, 10% of the core company will go overseas. What companies? I'm sorry. 10% or out of the core company we transfer factories. Out of the 4 companies? I'm sorry. But what kind of companies? Pardon? I'm sorry, but I believe that this data is about manufacturing companies. Am I right? Manufacturing, yes. Yes. So how many manufacturing companies are there in Japan? From? How many manufacturing industries companies are there in Japan? In Japan? In Japan. So how big a ratio is this of all Japanese companies? President, can you? I'm very sorry. I'm trying to say, you say that 10% of the manufacturing companies will go overseas, right? Yes. And also large scale factory. 90% large scale factory are planning to transfer overseas. Can you please define large scale factory? Large scale has more than 1,000 workers. More than 1,000 workers. Okay. What data is that? Where do you have that? Pardon? Where do you have that data from? It is 2009. Sorry, the time is up. Thank you very much for answering my questions. Thank you.
Question time has ended.
否定側立論では2つのディスアドバンテージが論じられました。1つ目のディスアドバンテージは女性や高齢者の職がなくなるというものです。派遣労働では子どものいる女性や高齢者にも職が提供されていましたが、それが禁止されると高齢者や女性が仕事に就けなくなる。で、将来的にはそうした労働力が大変重要だという鋭い論点でした。ディスアドバンテージ2は派遣労働の禁止によって海外に日本の工場が移転してしまうのではないかという弊害でした。派遣労働が禁止されると人件費が高騰して、それを抑えるために人件費の安い海外に移ってしまうのではないかということを企業へのアンケートなどから論じていました。否定側立論の後の肯定側からの質疑では、女性や高齢者が派遣労働で実際にはどれだけの割合を占めるのか、あるいはどれだけの工場が実際に出ていくのかという割合や数字に関する質問が多く出されていました。これは否定側の挙げた問題が本当に深刻なのかを問いただす質問で、実は次のアタックに連動しているんです。 そのことを念頭に置いて次の2つのアタックスピーチを聞いてみましょう。
Please look at the AD1. They said that worker will not be treated as commodity. But one, there is no proof why problem will be solved. They need to prove that the intention of the company will change to protect workers. Two, unless the intention of the company will not change, part-timers will be treated as the same way as dispatched workers, even if work dispatching is prohibited. The problem will not be solved. Professor Odaki of Osaka University stated in 2006, quote, when companies try to cut personnel costs, unemployed people will increase because companies restrain adapting workers. Moreover, companies can increase part-timers. Thus, the labor environment of part-timers will decline instead of dispatched workers, unquote. Part-time is also unstable, short-term employment, but workers have to search by themselves, so women and the elderly cannot work as a plan, so please make sure that demand will still remain. Next, please look at the 82. They say that a labor accident is easy to occur. But one, there is no problem in the present. Dispatch company and the client company are trying to cooperate to prevent labor accidents. According to Mr. Kimura from Domestic Industry Labor Force Research Center, stated in 2007, quote, according to a survey done by the Japan Industrial Safety and Health Association, Safety and Health Act is done in the same way as workers in the client company. The patrol of the workplace is often done by both client company and dispatch companies, unquote. And two, moreover, without the prohibition of whole work dispatching law, we should take responsibility to client company. According to a website of Human Resource Development Organization in Tokushima, quote, government will revise the work dispatching law and make both the dispatching company and client company take responsibility, quote, unquote. We are not saying that it will be solved because the law will be revised. What we want to claim is that there is no need to prohibit all work dispatching law, even if there are other solvency. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Nakamura. Let me ask some questions. First, you have 3 attack points.
Oh, yes.
Okay. First, about your third attack. You said about responsibility.
Yes.
So you mean now client companies and dispatching agencies are responsible for dispatch workers?
Yes.
Enough?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And about your data, your data came from someone saying, just some professor or people saying?
Mr. Kimura from Domestic Industry Labor Force Research Center.
So your data is all came from like that?
Sorry, one more please.
Okay, sorry, next question. About your first attack, you said part-timers are also treated like commodity.
Yes.
So you mean if we prohibit it, most dispatch workers will be part-timers?
Someone will be hired as part-timer. But I mean, after plan, other employment side workers will decline instead of.
Thank you. Part-timers and part-timers are also treated like commodity. Do you have any figure or evidence?
Evidence? No, because after plan, a company wants to hire short-term or
Okay, thank you. And so, you mean dispatch workers accidents is no problem?
No, but the solvency is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Minami Waki, and I want to begin my next speech. First, about the advantage one. They said women who are carrying child and elderly will have difficulty to find a job. But first of all, their significance is really low. According to the Ministry of Labor in 2009, the percentage of the women who have child to bring up is only 4.8%. And moreover, according to the same data, the rate of elderly people who are over 65 years old is only 1.2%. So there's no importance. Which is more important, only 1% of the workers or the whole dispatch workers? Of course, the whole workers. And secondly, workers will not be difficult to find a job because if worker dispatching is prohibited, job offer will increase because companies have to fill the vacancies of dispatch workers. The needs of workers will never disappear because companies cannot survive without workers. So workers don't have difficulty to find a job. And second, about their disadvantage too. They said company will go abroad because of the prohibition of the worker dispatching, but it is wrong. According to the Ministry of Economy and Industry, the ratio of production in foreign countries keep increasing since 1999. It was 2004 that worker dispatching for manufacturing was began. This clearly shows that companies moving out of Japan and the worker dispatching system is completely unrelated. Whether there is a dispatching system or not, companies are going abroad, so their disadvantage one lack of uniqueness. And moreover, even if some companies go abroad, that percentage is really small. They said that 10% of the manufacturing companies will go abroad if worker dispatching were to be prohibited. But according to the Minister of Labor, only 20% of the manufacturing companies are using dispatching workers now. This means 10% times 10%, only 0.2% of the company will go abroad. Therefore, the effect is really weak. From this reason, their two disadvantages doesn't stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Yoko. I would like to ask you some questions. First of all, in your first evidence, what's the source?
Minister of Labor in 2009.
Okay. We stated that 20% of others are over the age of 65 in our constructive speech. So how do you explain that?
Sorry? What?
Constructive speech, we explain that 20% of others are over the age 65.
But our data shows that only 1.2% is over the 25.
Dispatch workers?
Yes, dispatch workers.
Okay. But you're not denying the fact that it's important to have many workers in order to advance into the society for economic growth, right? You didn't deny that point.
Sorry.
Okay. Can I move on? Can I move on? Okay, I'll move on. In your second attack, you said that vacancy. There are vacancies after plan, so dispatch workers will be hired.
Yes.
As what?
As the employees. Their employment.
Do you have any proof?
Yes, we have the data that dispatch workers can get.
How much? Will all dispatch workers be hired?
Almost all.
Almost?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any proof that women and others will be hired after plan?
Yes, because we must not make discrimination.
Okay. You used the evidence about the overseas. When is this evidence from? What year?
This year, in 2009.
So what do you want to say in this?
That overseas is lack of uniqueness. It is unrelated with dispatch system.
両チームのアタックとも相手の論点の弱点をついた大変聞き応えのあるスピーチでした。否定側はアドバンテージ1については派遣労働が結局パートタイム労働に移るだけでそこで同じような扱いを受けるだけではないのかと反論しました。またアドバンテージ2については現在でも事故などが起きないように安全配慮をしようとしているとそういう動きがあることを紹介しました。労働災害は派遣を禁止しなくても防げるのではないかという反論です。肯定側のアタックでは統計を駆使して否定側の取り上げた問題が実際には非常に小さな問題であると訴えていたのが印象的でした。ディスアドバンテージ1に対する攻撃としては派遣労働者に占める子どものいる女性や高齢者の割合が 実際には数%に過ぎないということ。ディスアドバンテージ2でも製造業で派遣労働者を使っている割合は実際には 20% ぐらいに過ぎないということ。仮にその 10% が移ったとしても実際に移る企業の数としては数%ということになるんではないのかということで、現実に起きるとしても大した問題ではないという形での印象的なアタックになっておりました。これを可能にしたのはその前の質疑の段階でどのぐらいの割合が高齢者の中で占めるんですかとかですね、どのぐらいの企業が実際に移るんですかということが質問されていました。否定側はあまりそれに対して効果的に答えていなかったということもありますので、全体としてその質疑とアタックが噛み合って非常に相手側の議論の重要性が損なわれた形になります。肯定側は非常にいいチームワークで相手を攻撃したことになります。
We will now hear affirmative defense speech for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Marina Nakamura. I want to start our defense speech. First of all negative science data came from just someone saying, we think their data are not reliable. We have 3 defense points. First, as for advantage 1, they said part-timers are also treated like commodity, but it is completely wrong. Only dispatch workers are dismissed easily and treated like commodity. According to the Economic Finance White Paper by Japanese government in 2009, the unemployment rate of these workers is about 20%. This is 8 times larger than that of direct workers, like part-timers and regular workers. And second, as for our advantage 2, they said accidents are not a problem, but it is not true. The risk of industrial accident in dispatch workers is high. According to the survey done by the Ministry of Labor in 2008, in manufacturing industry, the rate of dispatch workers risk is almost twice as large as that of the average. This data clearly shows dispatch workers are the most likely to be involved in accidents. Third, they said are responsible, but in fact, client companies and dispatching agencies are not responsible for dispatched workers. According to the Job Security Department of Ministry of Labor, the ministry had issued the document warning to the company which violated the labor dispatching law. In 2002, only 600 warnings were issued, but in 2007, the number was 6,500. It is roughly more than 10 times that of the 5 years. This clearly shows that client companies and dispatching agencies don't take care of dispatch workers, and they are not responsible for dispatch workers. So, as a result, their attacks don't stand. Thank you.
We will now hear negative defense speech for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Haruka Yokotsuka. I'd like to begin now. First of all, they said that the rate of women and elders are low. Women and elder dispatch workers are low. However, under the status quo, women and elders are preferring to work as dispatch worker. And also, as we stated in our significance, those people are increasing year by year. So the worker dispatching system itself is pushing the advancement of those workers. This point is very important. It's not denied. Also, in their second attack, they said that workers will be hired after plan. However, they have no proof if all dispatch workers can be hired after plan. And also, they did not deny the fact that women and elders cannot work without worker dispatching system. In our constructive speech, we use the evidence to show that worker dispatching gives more opportunity for women and elders. 42% were dispatch workers, but only 17 were part-time. So this clearly shows that women and others who want to work whenever and however long they want, worker dispatching system is the best. Also, they said that the 10% of transferring overseas is small. However, they didn't deny the fact that 10% will actually go overseas. And also, and especially for large-scale factories, 19% answer they will transfer overseas. So if even one factory transfers overseas, other small factories related to that will also get damaged. And also, moreover, since there are even regular workers working in those factories, in addition to dispatch workers, this overseas transfer will not only be a damage to dispatch workers, but also regular workers, direct workers, and company. Therefore, it is very, very serious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is student Maria Megason. Okay, let me start today's summary. Today's debate has been about company disadvantages for both companies and workers. Let's start with companies. The negative side claim that companies will move overseas. This is, though, a general problem of the Japanese economy. While some might move, it is not very many. Actually, dispatch workers are simply a convenience for companies. But this convenience is gained at the cost of human beings. Let's move on here. The negative side claim that women and elders will lose their only option to work. They try to use this as evidence that unemployment will increase. However, women and elderly make up a very little percentage of the dispatch workers, so it has little impact. We believe that this is discrimination if those people can only get such a job. Why? Because it is both dangerous and unstable work. The dispatch workers are the first to be dismissed when such action is needed. The negative side attacked this by saying that it is not unique. Oh, really now? Then, why exactly is it that the largest unemployment rate of all belongs to dispatch workers? And it doesn't stop here. They also have the largest rate of accidents. Please, honorable judges, remember, people are getting killed here, they're getting hurt. We must prohibit the system to protect workers, which of course includes women and elderly as the negative side wants to protect. And we are actually here on the affirmative side, we are willing to lose a small percentage of companies to foreign countries if we can protect these humans from accidents and unstable employment. So because workers are the most important thing for companies when it comes down to all, because who made the companies? Who makes the companies work? It is the workers. So please, trust me when I say that we on the affirmative side strongly believe that we should prohibit the worker dispatching system. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Hyogo. We believe that the vital problem for the severe treatment for workers is the company's intentions, in other words, the lack of consciousness of compliance, which is the key to open the clear-cut situation of the world after plan. So let me make it clarify. The affirmative side said that because dispatch workers are convenient, they are used badly. And by the same token, as we have said in the disadvantage too, since companies with flexible labor force, they will transfer overseas into lower personal costs and easily sacrifice and ignore the domestic effects, such as massive unemployment and damage to small companies. This fact clearly shows that companies take first priority for their profit, not protecting workers. Please make sure this first stance does not change before the world before and after plan, so companies will continue to wear out alternative workers and change the target of commodity to other working style. Now also, their advantage too. So therefore, this is the first voting issue in terms of certainty. Okay, and their advantage too will only occur only when dispatch workers will be hired directly and the responsibility will be clear. However, they kept on, they were lack of proof, and they talked about vacancy, but how much dispatch workers will be hired directly after plan. This is unclear, so their merit will not occur. Okay, moving on to our disadvantage one. What remains in this is disadvantage one. Worker dispatch is matching working condition and requirements of company, which is working on a woman and elderly who are difficult to get a job. This is not a matter of number. This is the facts. there's a difference between 42% and 70% in choosing dispatch workers and part-timer, we can say that worker dispatch is pushing out the advancement of those workers with its massive system. Also, the number of women is increasing, so it's really working. So our plan will definitely remain, and it's very important. Thank you for listening.
両チームとも大変優れた総括のスピーチを行っていました。初心者のうちはただ単に自分のチームのアドバンテージはこうであると繰り返したり、相手への反論をつまみ食いして再反論するといった総括スピーチもあるのですが、この両チームとも自分の論点の重要なものはこうであり、それがどうして相手の論点を上回るのかという比較のところまで踏み込んでいたので、非常にいい総括と言えます。とりわけ肯定側の比較では、労働者の命や健康が派遣労働によって損なわれる可能性が高いということを全面的に立てて、それが否定側の論じた工場の海外移転の問題や女性や高齢者の職が失われる可能性などに比べてはるかに大きな問題であるということを論じていました。つまり命や健康を守る方が一部の職などを守ることよりもより重要なんではないのか、このように価値の比較を行う視点を打ち出しているということは、いい総括にとっては欠かせない条件です。ぜひ見習ってください。
As a chief judge, I'm not really concerned about which side won in the final round. What I'm most concerned is whether you made friends. Did you make new friends? Who did? Say yes! Not that many. I'll ask once again. Did you make new friends? Yes, now I know. Now I can concentrate on the comments. But before starting, I'm probably going to steal this opportunity to thank the most important people who supported this tournament. As a chief judge, I want to give my greatest thanks to the judges and your great senseis. Please give them big hands. I envy you, students. I was not surrounded by good teachers as you. Don't mess up. You are very fortunate to be surrounded by those amazing teachers. And especially the students in Saitama. You are surrounded by amazing teachers who made this tournament a success. Don't forget that this tournament was run by dispatched teachers who actually teaches full-time of classes and then afterwards debates to you and then come here. One more big hand to all the teachers in Taiwan. Thank you very much. Okay, debate tournament. The general impression about the final round was so impressive to me. There were 3 points that were impressive to me. 2 very good points, and 1 point that needs improvement, in my opinion. 2 very good points. First point was very good research. I thought that this topic was very difficult, and maybe you thought it was very difficult, but it's an important topic for you. It probably connects to your future, and so I've heard that quite a lot of students were engaged in the research, and especially the 2 final teams has shown a lot of statistics and made their arguments very clear and objective, and probably that has improved from last year. Very good usage of white papers, statistics, not just opinions from experts. I'm not saying that expert opinions are bad. Affirmative side
tend to argue that they are negative evidence is only some person's opinion. But actually, most of the evidence were from professors. I'm one of them. I know they cannot be trusted. But some of the expert opinions can be useful to support your opinion because they are more supported with experience and specific knowledge. So using some expert evidence is also allowed. And using statistics, get into the real numbers, so it might be better, but not always. Because using statistics is really difficult. For example, affirmative and negative talked about a different figure. The affirmative argued that only 1.few% is elderly people dispatched. And they said 20%. This happens because I teach a little statistics, but you got to look into the population. Population is bungo in Japanese. What is the base number of the statistic? If the population base number is different, obviously the percentage will get different. So it's getting used to statistics is very important for your life. And probably it's very important to read experts' books to learn argumentation. So please do both. And both two teams have done wonderful research, and we should follow that. And second thing very important was the question and answers. Question and answers, for example, the affirmative side argued to the negative side that how many dispatched workers are elderly. And such kind of questions were good because that connected to the attacks. In the attacks, they argued that the percentage of the elderly is limited. The same kind of question came from the negative. The negative question was related to the attacks. So they both were asking questions strategically, using the questions to weaken their position and attacking them afterwards. Please follow that too. Don't ask meaningless questions. You should ask questions strategically, like the both teams. One improvement, the final comment general, is about the speech speed. Probably for some of you, the speed of the constructive speech might be a little too fast. If I were to be in the constructive speaker, I recommend I will do with a very slow beginning. Every speaker, even native speakers, have accents. And you need some time to adjust to the accents. So the beginning should always be slow. And then you can speak faster because you can get used to it. Please be slow at the beginning, and please be extra slow when you're making a very important tagline sentence, like advantage one talks about dispatched workers used as commodities. Such kind of tagline should be extra slow. So it will announce what you are talking about, and then the listener can adjust to what you are saying. But if you miss the beginning, you have to guess what you're talking about. So it's difficult to follow. So please do get slow at the beginning, okay? And then you can get faster. Basically, that will improve improve your communication to the listeners. So please take care of your speech speed too. That was the general comment. About the final round. Advantages, two advantages versus two disadvantages. One disadvantage, first disadvantage was dispatched workers were dismissed like commodities. Advantage two was the safety of dispatched worker is ignored. Disadvantage one talks about the unemployment of women and elderly people. If the dispatch worker system were cut. And the disadvantage too, we're talking about overseas transfers of factories. Those 4 points will probably be the main issues, even in the bureaucrats' talk of Kasumigaseki in the other part of this Japan. Probably the main 4 points. Impressive to us, judges, all 4 points were presented with data and were attacked by data. So none of the advantages or disadvantages remain as it were presented in the constructed speech. But they remain. 2 advantages remain smallly, and 2 disadvantages remain smallly. Advantage 1 was cut by a good attack that only some of the workers might be rehired. So even if you get a little bit stable position by working part-time, affirmative side didn't prove much that they will be rehired. Advantage 2 had the same problem. And they were attacked that safety measures are taken into actually gradually now. And that was attacked too. But advantage 1 and advantage 2 actually remain. There are some advantages. Every judge agreed to that. Disadvantage also remain, but were also cut, especially in the sense of the importance. Disadvantage 1 talks about unemployment of women workers and elderly. But the attack speaker did a wonderful job cutting the importance. It only talks about a few percent of the whole dispatched workers. We should care more about the miserable situation of the 98%. That was a strong argument that can use in the comparison. That was a great attack. And disadvantage 2 basically talks about the importance too. They agree that some company will transfer. That was kind of granted by the affirmative. But affirmative attack also that the company using dispatch worker is small. So the judges decided with these 2 small advantages and 2 small disadvantages, and did have some difficult time because it was a split decision. 4 judges were persuaded more by the Inakita arguments that disadvantage 1, unemployment and overseas transfer, is a small problem compared to the safety and stability of dispatch worker. So Inakita, you are going to Qatar. この試合では肯定側の出した2つのアドバンテージも否定側の出したディスアドバンテージも相手チームからのアタックでかなり効果的に攻撃されましたが、その後ディフェンス等でまた効果的に再反論がされた結果、全く完全にとは言えませんが何らかの形でどの論点もジャッジに影響を残すことになりました。非常に細部にまで行き届いたいい試合だったのですが、結果としては好評にもあったように、とりわけアドバンテージ2、労働者の安全が最も重要だと論じた伊那北高校に軍配が上がりました。もっともジャッジの間でも票が割れており4対1でしたので、非常な接戦だと言えます。創価高校も素晴らしいディベートを行ってくださいました。派遣労働の是非について取り上げることについては、当初難しすぎるのではないのかという危惧もありましたが、蓋を開けてみると決勝戦をはじめとして高校生とはとても思えないほど緻密なデータの引用が英語でなされていました。それも単に言ったら言いっぱなし、言われたら言われっぱなしというのではなく、データの出どころはどこなのかとか、データは正しいのかどうかという相手の議論を一度聞 聞いた上で吟味するというディベートらしい試合が増えてきたというのが総合的な感想です。英語ディベートでは本当の意味で実用的な英語力が問われます。ただ単に何かを読み上げるスピーチの能力ではなく、相手の言ったことを正確にリスニングする能力や、データを正確に読み取るリーディングの能力や、無駄なく重要なことを構成するライティングのスキルも問われます。全国大会も今回で4回目となりましたが、着実に本当の意味での英語力が向上してきていることが試合を通して伺えます。ぜひとも次回はさらに多くの都道府県より多くの高校からのチャレンジャーが参加することによって、英語のディベートを通した友情の輪が高校生の間に広がっていくことを望んでおります。
本当に周りの人たちに助けてもらってここまで来れて、本当にみんなに感謝したいと思います。
本当に夢みたいで、全然なんて言ったらいいか分かんないくらい本当に良かったと思います。
すごいけどそんなに良くなかったと思うけど、本当にみんなにありがとうございます。
すごく2日間があっという間に過ぎてしまって、でもここまで1回も負けないで来れたのはみんなの協力があったからだと思うので良かったです。
この2日間すごい大変だったんですけど、もう楽しいディベートができたので、悔いはないです。
この大会を逃げたくなったこともあったんですけど、本当にベストを尽くしてここまで やってこられてよかったなって思います。来年は絶対優勝します。
ここに来るまでは勝ちにこだわることが大事だったと思ったんですけど、ここに来たら自分が一番ベストを尽くすことが大事で、いいディベートをすることが一番楽しいんだなっていうことを感じられました。
今回の大会も本当にたくさんの人に支えられてここまで来ることができました。支えてくれた人に本当にみんなに感謝の思いを伝えたいと思います。
Didn't think that was realistic. Even on medical leave, you'll find a way to get the doctor.